this glorious day. Lord, thank you for all you've given us. Lord, just continue to watch over us, protect us. Lord, help guide us in the decisions we make today. Lord, always put you first in all we do. And as we go back to school, we know that lots of times the kids in school, the most influence they get is from the administrators and teachers and coaches. And Lord, just help guide us and put you first in all we do, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My screen just went black, but, I was like,
There you go.
all right, adopt the agenda, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, do I have has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and move to second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, welcome everyone. I guess we'll start with the results of the negotiation. Kim Lake?
Sign back in. Is it good?
Yeah.
Is it good back?
I don't know why, it's never done that before.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we actually negotiated and settled on an agreement very early this year, and you'll see why in just a minute. But here's what we've agreed to for teachers. Veteran teachers, so that definition is 10 plus years and a full-time classroom teacher. That's what we're calling a veteran teacher. Their estimated annual recurring increase will be $2,850. I'll explain in a minute why it's estimated. And other instructional would be 50% of whatever their rate is. So right now it's estimated at $1,425. And we also negotiated another loyalty bonus. They've appreciated those in the past and the board has supported those. So it would be $500 for anyone hired as of May 29th, 2026 through December 31st, 2021. And that should say $1,000. It's correct on the TA, but copy and paste fail there. Sorry, that should be $1,000 for the 12/31/21. There's another attachment, which is the actual TA that has all those numbers on there, correct? So the reason we settled early and the reason why there's some estimates built in is the language changed for the salary increase allocation. It was previously known as teacher salary increase allocation, TISA. So what they've changed is some language that says that this allocation, so our portion is $382,000, can only go to full-time classroom teachers and certified pre-K teachers. So full-time certified pre-K teachers, we don't have any. We have lead teachers that are aides, but we do have 2 certified pre-K teachers, but they provide supplemental support to those units. And they need at least 10 years of full-time teaching experience in a Florida public school. And the amount of the increase, so once you take that allocation, divide it by the number of teachers that fit that definition, if they get over 3,000, you would back it down to 3,000 and you would use the remainder for the other teachers. Or you use that allocation in whole as far as you could get, as close as you can get to 3,000. So right now, looking at the pool of teachers that we have identified as full-time classroom teachers, given that no one else leaves, we're at that $2,850. So we have written into the TA that we will stop looking at that pool as of August 21st. And whatever we have at that moment that's a full-time classroom teacher, we will divide those funds and then 50% will go to the remaining teachers. They have to have been hired and in our district as of May 29th, so they had to have at least worked 1 day last year to be in that pool. Does anybody have any questions about that? Oh, I'm sorry, and the reason why it accelerated our negotiations is they also said that you have to have an agreement by, I want to say, the end of July or August 1st, or we had to go to impasse. So let's talk about other instructional personnel. So this would include classroom teachers that have less than 10 years and your typical other instructional personnel, reading coaches, guidance, those kinds of units. They again are gonna get 50% of whatever that pot of money is divvied up for the full-time classroom teachers with 10 years or more. They'll get 50% of that, and then they would be eligible for the loyalty bonuses, and it is correct on this slide, so 500 and 1,000. And the hire date reflects when they are hired as a full-time employee, no sub-years, but it doesn't matter if they were an aide and then a teacher. For the purpose of their recurring raise, that is only teacher years. For the bonus, we're looking at how long they've been with Levy without a break in service, excluding sub-years. So right now, that package stands at recurring increases of almost 713, 500. That includes the TISA, and then the loyalty bonus is around 240, 241. Total compensation is 954,000. 4% of that is your averages is recurring, and 1% is the non-recurring. So it's very similar to what we did last year, except it's swapped a little bit. We have more recurring dollars than non-recurring, and that is partly because, or mostly because, that TISA is 50% higher than it was last year. So it's forcing those recurring dollars to be more. Does anybody have any question about instructional?
Is that something they're gonna fund every year?
So far, they've been funding it as a maintenance. So you get a large allocation, and in that allocation, they determine how much of that is to go towards maintenance and how much of that is new money. But remember, it's all embedded in our BSA, so it is highly fluctuates with every in and out of a FTE. I
Thank you.
guess the thought is that the teaching population would do the same, but we all know that's not exactly how that
Right, no
works.
follow,
Right.
We are short in maintenance. I wanna say it's around, they put more in maintenance this year too, that it's around 150,000 that we're short in maintenance. So for ESPs, what we TA'd was the same as last year. They would get one step, and we would add a new step to the salary schedule. They have to have been hired as of May 29th, 2026 to get that step. And then the same structure, loyalty bonus as the instructional staff, 500 and 1,000. And again, they can't have any break-in service to qualify for that. ESPs, you can see that the total benefit awarded there is almost 469,000. It's 5% total, but they are heavier on bonuses. 3% bonuses are non-recurring and 2% recurring. Again, those are averages. Does anybody have any questions about the ESPs? All right, and then we are not ready to negotiate health insurance, but we went ahead and had to tie a bow on the package. So they agreed to, similar to what we did last year, 50% to the board, 50% to the employee, but not to exceed, last year it was $10 a month, this year it's $20 a month. So not to exceed $20 a month on employee-only plans. So our thought process was, at most, that would be an additional $200 a year, and you're offering at the minimum low-tier bonus of $500. So you're still covering that increase in bonuses. So technically, the board would be supporting the majority of the increase.
When do we usually do the health insurance increase?
October.
October.
So the total cost for the ESPs and instructional and the bonuses is 1.4. That does not include the board increase for health insurance, because I don't know what that's gonna be yet. So when I take those estimates and I plug them into my calculator to look at the financial condition ratio, it looks like we would end this year at just under 13%, and next year, the end of next year, still be over 10. So that makes me feel confident in suggesting these raises. Recurring for year two is a little over 867,000, because those bonuses get backed out. But as the union and we discussed, that our non-recurring bonuses are becoming recurring, so we need to keep that in mind, because what we use to support these raises is our reserve funding. Technically, we sort of borrow against future year growth in the BSA, and the growth in the BSA has not been enough to sustain what we're doing, so at some point, these will have to become less and less. The TSIA money, though, is prescribed, and we have to give that the way that it is written in statute. Now, we are not bringing you administration at this time because you noticed that the instructional staff are estimates. The superintendent wants to see where those amounts land before she settles on what she would bring before the board for administration. They have not been forgotten, but you probably won't see those until September. All right, before we get into contract language, which it was an open book year, I would need approval for the TSA, board approval for the TSA, the TA as agreed upon on July 13th, if the board is in agreement with the TA for compensation.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, so it was open book. This happens every 3 years. We have been working on it for probably a year. It starts with district teams, and then we meet with the union and we discuss language. There is an attachment, hopefully you had time to peek at it, that has all of the language that we changed. I won't go through all of it because some of it is just cleanup, some of it is just dates. So let me get to the first one that we changed that is quite different, or is different, is on pages 6 through 8, and we're talking about a definition for school improvement days and professional learning days. We agreed to an hour lunch for both of those days, and the union agreed to let us extend the school improvement day to match PL days, so now it will be 8 a.m. to 3:30. This year, we are gonna honor the old contract because obviously staff has not seen this, so they would not be prepared for that longer day. We think that's a win. In both places, they were already getting an hour lunch, so it didn't take a lot to add that to the contract, but extending the SIP days allows us to organize speakers and stuff a little bit differently because it was ending at like 2:30. They had asked for some language in the contract to define how disciplinary actions would be handled in the school. So we just defined it exactly as our practice, and we were saying that it would occur in a private setting. So no hallway, disciplinary actions on staff. They also wanted some language talking about non-evaluative observations. They wanted to limit those. That is difficult for us to limit, but we did agree that we will limit those non-evaluative, but we left some leeway in there where that we're going to limit those to those necessary for legitimate operational or instructional purposes. That's very broad. So again, those non-evaluative, that is the scope of them. But we will try to have no more than 4 people during those visits unless there's extenuating circumstances that we cannot control. And then teachers can obviously volunteer to have more observers in their room if they so choose. And we went over that, and that does not limit your reading coaches or those types of observations. They were more talking about when we have outside entities come in and view the classroom. Food service increased the allowance for uniforms from 200 to 250. They wanted some language about when we could change assignments for a teacher. So we put in there that after the first 20 student attendance days of the contract year, instructional personnel assigned to classes will be provided a 5-day notice of job assignment changes, except in cases of self-paced courses. The district retains the right to implement such changes without advance notice when necessary to meet operational and instructional needs, because we told them sometimes we're left with no option because we have vacancies and we've got to get someone there. Most often, from what I was hearing in the discussion, teachers want to move sooner than later anyway because they don't want to be stuck between two classrooms. And we give them the right to move sooner should they choose. We added some additional language for comp time. Basically, we are adjusting the language to match some practices that have been ongoing in certain schools where they will let teachers use comp time. If they take a full day, maybe on record they're only putting 6.5, and they're letting them use comp time for that lunch. So we kind of broadened it a little bit where teachers could use that hour a day. And we said they cannot be used for SIP days or professional learning days. Comp time cannot. And we allow broader usage when a teacher is already taking sick leave or personal leave. If they had comp time on the books, they could use a portion of that comp time in conjunction with those other leave types because they're already going to be out. So we are not trying to encourage more time off to incur sub costs, but we're trying to recognize that teachers have comp time and very limited when they can use it. And if they're already going to be out because they're sick or taking a day, let them combine some of that comp time with that leave time. This does not extend to ESPs. ESPs can use comp time at any time. And we reminded, you're talking about two separate classifications. You have a salaried employee and you have a non-salaried employee, which are ESPs. They were never bound by comp time rules in this contract because they're eligible in most cases for overtime. So we would prefer them to use comp time than overtime. This one's exciting. We added up to 5 consecutive work days of paid leave for employees for the birth or adoption of a child. So paid parental leave. We have some qualifiers for that. I won't go into all of that. But the gist is that they're going to be able to get 5 days of paid leave when they have a baby or adopt.
Is it the spouse or just the person?
Whoever our employee is.
Okay,
So if
employees
they're
have-
both our employees, we do have a qualifier in there, and I'm going to have to read what that is.
I just want to sure if
Can't
it's
take
like,
it
if
if
their
it's
wife
not
wasn't, but the spouse.
Oh, no, we would allow.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what I
yes,
thought,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
We would allow.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I
was
wasn't sure. I
missing.
mean, so some,
Yeah,
most
I'm
places is
sorry.
like that. but
Yes,
yeah,
yes. We
Yeah.
would allow for either.
The person having.
And I
the baby.
can't find it right now, so I'm going to ask Kaylee to help me out here. What happens when they're both,
I remember reading
they have to split the 5
Yeah.
days. It's combined, yeah.
Okay.
that.
And we
you're
do
saying-
it up to, I thought we limited it to 2
You did.
instances, so that third child,
Mhm.
sorry.
I remember reading it too. I just kind of.
That's under D, the lifetime.
So we're taking
maximum.
baby steps here. I know some places did a lot more, but we wanted to dip our toe in the water and see
Yeah,
how that works out. We would like to support our employees so they come back afterwards. We adjusted slightly workforce reduction. That sentence was scrutinized by our attorney. We feel good with it. It is already our practice, and all we said is when a workforce reduction is needed, we use normal attrition, voluntary retirements, and voluntary leaves of absences first before we do a layoff. That's nothing new. And for sick leave bank, an employee did have to wait 30 days, now they have to wait 90 days for enrollment. The contract language that we changed for salaries and benefits was an MOU that we had already agreed to, and that was just moving up the first payroll for teachers. We mimicked Alachua County, and we're doing the Friday prior to, how do we word that? To the last working day of August. So what it does is it takes that August 30th pay, moves it up a week, but then there is no August 30th, and then they get paid again on September 15th. So now it's 3 and 3 instead of 4 and 2. We did not do that with ESPs. I'm not sure that's something we're gonna be able to do because they run the gamut in contract lengths. And so it's a lot to change theirs. We added some new language about differential pay as it applies to higher ed supplements. If we have an ESP who is an instructional aide or a media clerk, if they have a higher ed degree, they get that supplement. But when they work their way up and they move out of that group, they move into a different group, so a secretary to a director, a bookkeeper, a confidential, or not a confidential, a data entry, they lose that supplement. So we wrote language that said, if you come into our district as an aide or as a media clerk and you have that degree, we will allow you to keep it as long as there's no break in service as you move up within that ESP schedule. So if you come into our district as a bookkeeper, you earn the degree there, no. You come into our district as an aide, you earn the degree, you have the supplement, and then later you go to a bookkeeper, yes. You leave and come back, no. So that's kind of what that means. All right, I think that was it. Those were the biggest big ticket items for that. So we would need another approval for the change in contract language as defined by the TAs that I provided.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I'm talking too much.
Need some water?
Yeah.
Anybody have one not open?
Here's one that I'm not using.
Sorry.
That's all
No,
right.
you're good.
Sorry. I talk too much.
You got a lot to say.
Just ask for you.
She's got a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cut that out.
Her show.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
No. I'm
Aye.
sorry. I should have brought one. Thank you. All right, so we will move on to the proposed budget. You're doing really good. So for the timeline for the budget, we had the workshop on the 24th. This is the proposed budget. By statute, we have to have that to the board by the 24th of July. Here's where you approve the trim ads. The trim ads go out into the newspaper. They have to be in the newspaper by July 29th. And then we have to hold a tentative millage and budget adoption meeting within 2 to 5 days from that newspaper ad. So that will be on August 3rd. And then we have, I can't remember the exact timeline we have to have our final, but our final is always attached to September 11th because that is when all of our 3 major reports are due to the state. All right, so we did receive our RLE last week, so I was able to update our school taxable value. You can see our RLE is 3.042. Capital outlay remains the same at 1.5, and discretionary operating is set by the state, so you cannot go any higher, 0.748, for a total millage of 5.29. And far right, you'll see the amount of funds that produces.
What's it, 3.042, increase or decrease?
It's an increase.
It's increase.
It's always going to be an increase. Well, it's been an increase because the property values are increasing. So we're going to continue to show it as an increase until you start to see a decline. If
Property.
But that increase doesn't mean they're paying more. It does mean you are paying more, but you're paying more because the value of your home increased. You're not paying more because we're levying more.
Right.
Also, you have no control. So it's going to become an important conversation for you to understand. You have no control over what you levy in an RLE. An RLE is given to you by the state. The state determines what that is. You have control over discretionary and you have control over capital outlay. Because I see, as we do these compensation packages, you'll see community members say, oh great, we're going to pay more in taxes. That's not the way it works.
Right.
That's not the way it works.
It's your appreciation of your house is why you're getting that.
Correct. And whatever that RLE is set by the state.
And what about?
So you're gonna see a pattern that I think we're gonna continue to see. The state funding, so the last time I was here with the budget workshop, I showed you the House bill, so the first calculation. This is the second calculation. The only thing that changes is the RLE. So if our local funds grow, you're gonna see the state decrease. Because we're not gonna just get more money, the two are married, so as one goes up, the other goes down. Not usually equally, but you're gonna see that the state decreases their portion since our local increased. So we don't get the benefit of the higher property
Right.
taxes, that's what that RLE is there to do, to
Got it.
stabilize that. Our total funding is still the same,
Same,
just whose share
where
changes.
it comes from.
And keep in mind, state funding we get prescribed 2 times a month, starting in July. We do not get our local dollars until somewhere around November, December. Do they start flowing, and they ramp up, and we mostly get all of it by February. So
Okay.
that local dollars put some pressure on us. And I didn't mention this, and is why the bonuses will be held until December, so we can start to get some of those local dollars in.
You said November to February roughly?
That's
Yeah.
how they flow. So our total state funding decreased by 553,000, and our local increased by 569,000. So when you offset those or net those, there was an increase to the district of $15,610 between the first calc and the second calc. We'll take a quick look at our revenue sources, where we ended where we're projected to end this year, and what I've already written for next year's tentative budget. You can see growth in the federal growth is our decline is simply because this year we had a lot of Medicaid funds come in. It's Medicaid, right? And because we were trying to catch up, they've changed the system and we lag. So we did a really good job. ESE did a very good job, Nina, in getting all that funding in. Generally, we don't like to do that. We like to
Spread it.
balance it, but we had to, and so it pulled in a lot of money, and I don't expect us to have that same level next year. So I decreased it, but you'll see budget amendments come through if that funding does increase. The state sources, we have decreased between this year and last year, 335,000. That could be due to grants or other things that flow through those state sources. That does not mean we've decreased in FEFP dollars, which we haven't. Local sources, we have increased 1.4 million. Again, could be grants. That's not all. Well, actually, I think a lot of that is probably tied to that increase in the local dollars. And then interfund transfers, those are where we transfer funds from capital to general fund and some debt service stuff, and that's increased by 610,000. And then our other funding sources, that is simply insurance. How many lightning strikes can we get in 1 year? And that is so volatile. So that's what that is. So I'm showing an increase in revenue of 1.3 million. So keep in mind, I'm showing an increase in revenue of 1.3 million, and you just approved an estimated compensation package of 1.4. I just want it clear that the board does try to give
That's right.
money to our employees.
That's right. We're not hoarding it.
We're not hoarding it. So the revenue sources, 65% come from the state. So we are heavily dependent on state funding. And local sources is 30%. You see that fluctuate. It has been building. Local sources have been building about 1% at a time. But we are not like other counties that have high property values, and they're able to generate a lot more local dollars. We're heavily dependent on that FEFP. I think the FEFP provides us with 30 million, and we provide them with 15 from local. So we'll look at expenditures very quickly. Expenditures are increasing by 2%. You can, it's just under $1 million. You can see a decline in those salaries between what we proposed and activity last year. The raises are not in this one. They will be in the final, so that will work its way out. But some of that variance is due to control and trying to right-size the district. And looking at units, freezing units, we had some lapse time, people leaving seats open, vacancies for extended periods, so that's where that comes from. Employee benefits continue to go up even though salaries go down. This year it was very small, so we were happy with that. And purchase services continues to increase. Those are contracted support that we use. Quite a bit flows through needs with ESE. I can already look at my energy services line and tell you that there is not enough increase built in that. So that will be adjusted as we move to the final budget. When I build this budget, it's in March and April, so I haven't had time to see the last quarter of the year. And
The board and everything else.
yes, so we will adjust that, but we can also pray that it comes down.
Yeah.
Materials and supplies, that has state grants in it. I know that has the 2 cap grants in it, so that growth is nothing alarming. That's just spending out some of those grants. It's the same with the capital outlay. And the other expenses, that's where you would see subs. That's also where I put FES. So the scholarships are part of our revenue. For your purposes, I reduce it from the revenue, and then I have an offsetting expenditure line, I reduce it from the expenditures. But I wanna make note so that when you look at the budget summary, it doesn't match. It's gonna be off by about 7 million if you come back and you look at my expenditures on that versus a summary, and that is, and same with the revenues. That is simply because FES has to be a revenue because it flows through us, and it has to be an expense, an offset. Does that make sense? All right, and then just comparing expenditures, just to see it on a graph, what we've done, you can see our salaries are up and down and up and down, and that's, our salary rates have continued to increase, but that is just due to the population adjusting, and that doesn't just mean teachers, that's like all salaries. So that includes all staff. You can see benefits continue to rise, purchase services up and down a little bit. What happens is Marcy's able to find an employee. It's cheaper to make an employee. She'll pull them off and purchase services, or we have more services we have to address with contracts, and so it goes back and forth. Energy is not flat. It looks like it, but it has continued to climb. And materials and supplies, that's usually very dependent upon how many grants we have flowing through there. When we get a lot of grants, you'll see it hits capital outlay and it hits materials and supplies. All right, we are very personnel heavy, so it is extremely difficult to right-size a budget and not touch a body, because that's where the majority of our funds go. Salaries and benefits are 74% of our total expenditures. Next is purchase services, and then those materials and supplies.
That's pretty common across all school districts, right?
Yes, yes. And that's why I think sometimes it can be difficult to express to you how to make cuts when that's where you have to make the cuts, and that's difficult to have
Right.
to express. You can't turn this ship very quickly.
No.
All right, so our proposed operating budget, again, this has been right-sized for scholarships, so it won't match this budget summary, but you can see our revenues are still less than our expenses. So it's a deficit of 500,000, but the good news is, in that deficit are rolled forward funds. So those are not new funds, those are old funds that are sitting in the assigned fund balance that the schools can use, but generally do not. So when I back those out, you can see the deficit is around 75,000. That is much better than it was last year, but again, this is just the proposed. When you see the final, we'll have a better adjustment, and then every quarter it gets better and better, and I can see what's gonna happen there. And I wanted to show, again, of that 1.4, how much of that is impacting the general fund. It's 1.39, and non-recurring is around 487, and recurring is 906. Just to give you an idea of, those are unbudgeted right now. They'll be budgeted by the final, which is rare. Never do you see it in the final, because we usually do not negotiate early enough to have it impact the final budget.
That still gave us a ratio roughly of 12.9, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that will change too, but I'll bring that in the final and let you know, because I'm pleased with where we may end this year. Although, we're ending this year We may not end this year with a deficit, but you can see where the money's coming from, and that is what scares me, and that's what this page is showing. So I'm showing right now a deficit for this current year of around 873. I can tell you, yesterday I was able to make some final maintenance transfers, so that deficit is looking to be 0 to maybe a positive of around 30,000. But our financial condition ratio is still gonna decline, because our restricted are going up, because of all those grants. I know that's a lot of information, but there's a relationship there. And our financial condition ratio is what we're graded on. But when you look at, and this has not been adjusted for those final transfers, when you look at what our deficit would be before the transfers, so add back in that 800,000, we would have been well over $2.5 million, almost $3 million in a deficit, if we did not make those maintenance transfers, which we are allowed to do by law, but there is a cost to that. When you do that, you're heavily dependent on a statute that could change. You're heavily dependent on local tax dollars that could change, and you're also cannibalizing your ability to maintain and operate your schools. So there is an offset with that. But that's where we are. And that is no different than any other school district right now either. I just want to be very clear on that. So here's the line that it impacts. So our capital projects, what we propose for next year, you can see that we're going to bring in around 17.6 million. That includes around a $10 million fund balance. New dollars, a little over 7 million. We have expenditures at about 4.3. We have transfers out at over 2 million. I will tell you, when I started in 16, 17, that was $800,000 roughly. And we still look like we will end next year with about 17.6. Now, one thing that's going to change next year that is not in this budget and probably won't be in the final is that we are going to have to share this with our charters. The last time I ran those projections, it was around 150,000 between the two, because we have paid off our Chiefland Middle High School, and we don't have our COPS, our debt service, so that's not hitting this budget. So this year, your debt service just has one line. It used to have two, the racetrack and COPS. We do not have the COPS. We paid that off. So now we have the bond refund that we just did, or what we still refer to as racetrack, which it's really not, but that's how everyone knows it, and you can see what we have to pay next year. Our food service budget, this will be adjusted for the final. Things come in very quickly at the end for food service, but right now we're looking at an ending fund balance of about 1.6. I do want to mention too, food service is supporting the general fund. That is another issue. That's another area of concern that I have. Food service injected an indirect cost about $520,000 last year. We're going to do around $450,000 this year. So anytime food service doesn't have that indirect cost to support the general fund, that's another burden. So that is why we cannot stop looking for areas to reduce costs, because it's coming. I can only cover that up for so long. I hate to say cover it up, that's not what I'm doing, but I won't be able to exercise all the things
Pull from
allowable
other
by
sources.
law
Right.
to help reduce that deficit. This is last year's numbers. We finalized federal program budgets in your final budget, but revenues and expenditures have to match for final, or for title programs. The reason why they don't match here is we have internal accounts now have to flow through our federal budgets. So any fund balance that you see in a federal program would either be food service or an internal account. What you get awarded is all you can spend in terms of Title I, II, III, IV, V, those. And then finally, our self-insurance. You can see we're projecting to have revenues of about 9.5. That includes our fund balance and another general fund permanent transfer. We transferred $450,000 last year from general fund to prop up the self-insurance reserve, and that was just came from our reserve funding. And this year I have budgeted another $300,000. If we don't need to do that, that would be that amount would be adjusted based on wherever we land for board increases. But you can see that we hope to, we'll have about 7.8 million in expenditures, and our fund balance will be slightly reduced, but we'd still end with 9.5. We won't know about that permanent transfer till February, when our fund balances, our reserve funding is reviewed. So these are the ads that are gonna go out. It is a notice of a proposed tax increase. We went through all of that. In that second paragraph, you can see that we expect the FEFP portion would be a little over 30 million, but we have to provide local dollars for the difference. This is the budget summary ad that has to go out, so total of all funds is almost 119 million. This is the notice for how we will use our capital outlay funds, that 1.5 mil for next year. It is all very prescribed. We do the same from year to year. Now, this is an amended notice because I just said we paid off Chiefland Middle High School. Well, I noticed, I should have picked up on this sooner, I didn't, but I noticed when we were finalizing or going through some of our expenditures for our financial statements, that we paid the final payment for Chiefland Middle High School out of last year's funds. I did not put Chiefland Middle High School on the ad for last year. So I need to go back and amend it, needs to be board approved, needs to be noticed, so that when we're audited, they can see that we had the right to use those funds to pay that payment. And so though, I need one motion, but that motion would approve those four advertisements.
All right,
I move to approve the advertisements as follows. Notice of proposed tax increase, the notice of tax for school capital outlay, our budget summary ad, and the amended notice of tax for school capital outlay.
second. All right, been moved to second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Do you have any questions? I'm sorry I didn't ask that. That was a lot.
Well, you kind of answered it as we went.
You went
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Do you really understand?
No,
Okay.
we just
You
guessed.
did a good job.
You do such a good job.
Yeah.
You
How
do,
can we not
Judy.
understand
Thank
it?
you, Miss Lee.
All right, so now we're down to public comments. We got a big public crowd today. Y'all got anything to say? I guess not. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Mr. Aswell? Oh, wait, hold on. Approval of minutes. All right, I done moved, I done messed up, I'm sorry.
But you're good.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
We've all been there.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right, approve second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The screen is so small. I should have went off the paper. All right, consent agenda. All right, Mr. Aswell, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Ms. Campbell?
No questions.
Ms. Baxter?
No questions.
All right, all mine are good too. I'll entertain a motion to accept, to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved and second, all in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, scroll this thing down. My laptop says I got 5 minutes to go anyway, so we gotta get this thing wrapped up. All right, yep, superintendent comments, yep, we're down to
Thank
you,
you,
Amy.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Oh, gosh,
You did great.
struggle through.
I have been with some of our admin and some of our district staff over the past day and a half for the NEFEC conference. And it's 50 years for NEFEC. As you know, they're one of our partners. We had a very good time. I know Marcy was there as part of the district, and there was some good conversation. Some of us went off to separate dinners, but we all came back together, so it was a very good time. And they had some great breakout sessions, learned a lot from some of the other superintendents that presented. We had a presenter, Miss Katie Corbin presented, and soon she will be sharing with the board, because I asked her to do part of that presentation for all of you, which is on the guidance counselor's comprehensive plan that she put together and some lesson planning specifically for all the counselors in our district, so everyone's on the same page. So she'll present that shortly to you. Don't know if you've met him in person yet, but Mr. Brett Wasden is back there. He is the new director of CTE, so if you haven't said hi to him, he's been busy at conferences and taking care of the grants that have to be updated, and he's doing an excellent job, so.
Is he ready for his speech?
Speech? No, I didn't say he was,
Give us 15 minutes, tell us what you think.
Hey, don't hit me.
but
Don't hit me. Talker.
he's a doctor. You're welcome to say anything that you'd like if you want to. No pressure.
Oh yeah, I just thank you to the superintendent for welcoming me to the school district. It's been a phenomenal onboarding process. Kaylee and her team, personnel, it was so great to work with. I've been working very closely with Kim in the finance office and Breezy, and everyone has been just phenomenal to work with, and we're making a lot of great progress. So I'm excited to be a part of the team.
Thank you.
That back road's rough, you might want to. Or have a lot of bail money saved up.
Yeah, the gentleman to his right. But we're gearing up for the pre-planning, August 3rd and August 4th. That will be great. And then next week, of course, Friday, Kaylee was talking about it, that she'll have some hiring to do between now and Friday. So we're looking at that, and the principals are working hard on getting those hires and doing the interviews.
Between now and Friday?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next
Say,
Friday.
whoa. Oh,
Yeah, but we're doing okay there. And that's all I have,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Mr. Aspel?
It's only been a week. It hadn't been a whole
I know.
lot. But I will say, I appreciate my Paris. This makes me, I gotta go on a trip and bring y'all back something. I don't know where I'm going, but y'all get ready. And you know my weird sense of humor, so there's no telling what you get. Not much going on. I have been asked to remind everybody that the Bronson Quarterback Club is having their annual golf tournament on the 8th, 6th? What's the Saturday? 8th? On the 8th at Chiefland. And if you don't play golf, you can still come, hang out. They have a steak dinner at the end of the thing for $20. It's a great deal. And
I
we'd
can't
love
get a
to have
hamburger
you.
for that.
Sorry?
I can't get a hamburger for that.
I'm telling you, yeah. And it's steak, baked potato, the whole nine yards. And it raises money for our little football team. But I don't have anything else other than it's good to see y'all today. Great job, as always, Mrs. Slate.
All right. Ms. Campbell?
Yes, Kim, thank you very much. You do a great job, and I really appreciate the way you explain things over and over to us. I like that. I just have one question. I think I remember when we met, you said that you were meeting with teachers or going to the schools to explain, or somebody was? Because my concern is the whole 10-year in the classroom. They really need to understand what that is before.
They do. I've got to work with the union leadership to find a date. The date we didn't want to use it, we can't, it's too full. So it looks like I'm gonna have to try to find time to go to every school, so I need to work that out with them. Ideally, it'd be before ratification, I just don't know timing, how that's all gonna work out. But yes,
So are we at the point of them voting?
yes, but
Okay.
that will not obviously happen until April 9.
Okay.
We have to have it ratified prior to October 1st. That's our now. We've met the first deadline, that will be our second.
Well, thank you for that.
Ms. Baxter?
Yes, thank you, Kim. You explained things in layman terms. You would have made a good teacher, but I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. over the summer at Chiefland Elementary, they've got their back to school, where the kids and parents can come to meet the teachers, and that's coming up August 6th from 4 to 6. And they'll have local vendors and all there. It's great. They did it last year. And also they have local businesses beautifying the flower beds on the campus. They did that last year as well, and it looks really nice. At the high school, things are clicking along. They're getting everything in place to start. They just have one vacancy to fill, and that's it.
All right. Like I said, it was just last week, but thank you, Kim, for explaining everything to us. You always do a good job. Welcome, Brett. Excited to have you here. My wife was telling me all the good things, and you kind of work together on some stuff. And so excited to have you here, and like I say, wrapping up the summer, getting all the back-to-school bashes are coming up, and everybody finishing up the last little bit of vacations. And other than that, hope everybody has a good rest of summer. Thank you.